Hello and welcome back to the final part of this tutorial. In this part of the tutorial we're just going to wrap everything up. We're going to save our Photoshop document, we're going to save the texture, we're going to apply it in Maya, and we're going to make it look awesome in Maya. So I suppose I should just walk you through what I've added since the last time we did a tutorial. I've added some small splits here in the screws. This is super easy to add. I'll just show you over here how we can add something. The splits are really easy, exactly the same theory as everything else we've looked at. All I need to do is I need to start with a line, and then I just create my highlight, and I just kind of follow that down, and you'll see that as I zoom out it looks like a pretty decent looking split. So everything else that I've created here, including kind of like the sub button, RODK whatever, has been created in exactly the same way. I've created kind of like a low light damage kind of slash, and then I've added in a highlight to really bring out kind of like the 3D nature of it all. So let's save this file. The first save we're going to make is the PSD. Now the PSD is the Photoshop document. This is going to save all of our layers and everything that we've been working on. I'm going to make sure that I include this PSD in the session folder that I'll give you access to in the discussion box down below, or the description box down below, and hopefully you'll be able to kind of open that up and have a look around. Now I'm calling my PSD create_texture. I'm just going to select this and click yes, and then click OK. Secondly, I'm going to save this again, but this time as a bitmap, and I'm going to call that bitmap create_color. Then we can switch to Maya. Now in Maya we need to assign a material to our crate, but before we do that I want us to press Shift Alt and D. This is going to get rid of any history that we have on the crate. This is going to make it much easier to find the materials. I only had a few options on here anyway, but yours is probably going to be a lot more kind of like detailed. You can have loads of steps in here. And what we need to do next is we need to hold right click and we need to click on Assign New Material. Now the material type we're going to use is Blinn. This is just a basic material shader. We don't need to use anything special for this. And what I want us to do first, before we do anything, is just change the specularity color down here. We're going to scroll this all the way to the left to it's black. This just means that there are not going to be any kind of silly reflections, and we're just going to see the material. Now, how do we get our material in here? This is nice and easy. We just need to click on the checker box to the right of color. We then need to click on File. This then opens up a new material kind of option here. Click on the folder. Navigate to where we've saved our texture, and we want to apply the BMP, not the PSD. So I'm going to click the .bmp, click Open. If we haven't, we need to make sure that we have got the texture button clicked here, and we need to toggle that on. And as you can see here, we end up with a pretty awesome looking crate. Now there are a few things that we need to turn on to make this look even more badass. Firstly, earlier in a previous video we spoke about screen space ambient occlusion. Well, Maya has its own SSAO shader, and we can just apply this by moving our mouse over to this option here and enabling that, and you can see the difference that adds lots of depth. The next thing I really want to do is just show you how we can add a really simple lighting situation here, just to really bring out the best in the material. Now the first thing we want to do is create a plane. This ground plane is just going to act as kind of a catch. Oh, crikey, it's all got the same material. Let me apply a new material to this. There we go. So this is just going to add kind of a ground plane, and you'll see that it kind of is already casting a shadow here, and this is the ambient occlusion. What I'd like to do now is add a couple of lights. Now we've already looked at the tab system here in Maya. In order to add lights we need to come to the rendering tab, and we're going to add two lights. Firstly we want to add the ambient light. This is one of the lights that we spoke about. You'll notice that nothing changes yet, don't panic. We're not going to change any of the settings on here. I'm just going to drag this out and leave it here so we can see it. The second one I'm going to create is what we call a directional light. So I'm going to click on this and I'm going to move it out. Now this time you'll notice that this looks like a series of arrows. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to rotate this by 30 or so degrees towards the crate. Now you'll notice that we haven't got any lighting here at all. There doesn't seem to be anything on here. Well, this isn't a problem. All we need to do is click on the Use Scene Lights button. Currently it's just using default lights. So if we click on this, this is going to give us a different view altogether, and we also need to turn shadows on as well. So if we left click that, you'll notice we now get shadows. Now I'm going to make this plane a little bit bigger so that we can really make the most of this particular object. Now this shadow kind of casts as it goes. What I'd like to do, I'm just going to rotate this light a little bit further to make that shadow a little bit more interesting. And we're going to create a little scene here with our crate. So I'm just going to move this over here, and I'm going to create a duplicate of this by pressing Ctrl and D, and I'm going to move this over to here, and I'm just going to rotate this by maybe 5 or 10 degrees, like so. I'm then going to press Ctrl D again. This time I'm going to move up, and I'm going to kind of stack this crate, like so. And again, I'm going to rotate this maybe 5 or 10 degrees in the other direction. Make sure it's nice. I might also create another crate, just move this to the front, and again just kind of rotate this by 5 degrees or so. And then I'm going to select all of these, I'm just going to reposition them in the center. And that really is the end of this particular tutorial. It's a really good idea just to get into the habit of creating a little scene with the objects that you produce. It really kind of really makes them look more awesome. I hope you've had fun, I hope you've learned something. If you have any requests or comments, please let me know in the comment section down below. And I really look forward to the next tutorial, which will be a high poly sci-fi oil drum. Thank you very much for watching, thank you very much for following, and I can't wait to show you some cool stuff again soon. Bye bye.